The first time I was called a bad Muslim happened shortly after 9/11, where a man called me that and proceeded to attack me. It was terrifying. I had never expected to be attacked physically for being a Muslim woman. I was heading to learn how to knit, actually, from a friend of my mother's. I was entering an apartment building, and then I walked into the elevator, and just as the doors shut, basically, he turned to me and he said, he came very close and said, Muslims are being bad in the world. I'm going to show you what that means. And then he proceeded to try to attack me in the elevator. And then, of course, the doors opened shortly thereafter, and I started to run, and he basically tried to assault me. I was wearing the full sort of, hijab and traditional jilbab, what they call, or abaya, and he essentially was trying to tear that off. But thankfully, after a few minutes of total shock, I kind of, pulled myself together and was able to push him off. Because of course, as I was running, I fell on the ground, and he was on top of me within a few moments. So I pushed him off, and I started to knock on and bang on the first door that I could. And in hearing that, he basically just ran down the stairwell and was gone.
How did you feel in that moment where he said, "You're a bad Muslim and I'm going to show you what that means"?
I was terrified. I mean, only a few weeks earlier, 9/11 had just happened, and I had, at that moment, really had to think about whether I was going to remain a visible Muslim or not, whether the hijab was something that I should continue to wear or not.
How did this experience change you? How did it shape you into who you are today?
Well, to be honest, Farah, I mean, I think that incident was probably the most significant incident that I've had in my life at this point in terms of my work. I've shifted completely from corporate after that, corporate work, right into social justice work. I started working actively in the women's shelters and the sexual assault centers.
Have you ever thought about taking the hijab off?
I chose not to. I mean, there's two reasons for that. One is that personally it's very spiritually fulfilling for me as a woman of faith. But secondly, I think it's important because I use it as a way of being of educating people. I think, I look at myself as being an ambassador. Honestly, I think it's about getting to know one another. I think it's important for us to humanize one another and really realize that we're all human beings at the end of the day.